She sits alone in a quiet room as the evening light fades, scrolling through her phone, not because someone messaged her, but because she hopes someone will. Days pass, and no one checks in. No, how are you? No, did you eat? No, are you okay? And slowly, the silence becomes louder than words ever could. A woman with no friends is often misunderstood. People think she is cold, proud, or difficult. But they don't see the nights she cried to Allah, whispering feelings she had no one else to share with. They don't see how strong she had to become just to survive emotionally. Mufti Menk once reminded us that sometimes Allah removes people from your life not as a punishment but as protection. That loneliness you feel, it might be Allah saving you from friendships that would have drained your peace, your iman, and your self-worth. She learned to sit with herself. She learned to listen to her own heart. And when the world turned away, she turned toward Allah. In sujud, she found the comfort no human ever gave her. In dua, she found a friend who never left. The room feels heavier tonight. Not because anything bad happened, but because nothing happened at all. Silence fills the air, stretching longer than she expected. She sits on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall, listening to the faint sounds of life outside her window, laughter, footsteps, conversations that don't include her. It's strange how the world keeps moving even when you feel completely left behind. She remembers a time when she used to be the one people called. The one who listened. The one who stayed up late replying to messages, offering comfort, giving advice, showing up even when she was tired. She gave pieces of her heart so easily, believing that love, loyalty, and effort would be returned. But slowly, without warning, those connections faded. Messages stopped. Invitations disappeared. And one day, she realized she was alone, not because she wanted to be, but because everyone else chose to leave. People assume that a woman with no friends must be the problem. They think she's too quiet, too emotional, too sensitive, or too distant. They don't see the full story. They don't know how many times she stayed silent just to keep the peace. How many times she ignored disrespect just to avoid conflict. How many times she forgave behavior that broke her, hoping things would change. She tried. Allah knows she tried. At first, she blamed herself. Maybe I talk too much. Maybe I expect too much. Maybe I'm not fun enough. Maybe I'm too serious. Those thoughts haunted her, replaying in her mind like a broken record. Each memory came with a sharp sting, moments where she felt invisible even while standing in a crowd. Nights were the hardest. When distractions faded and her thoughts became louder, she would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why companionship seemed so easy for others but felt impossible for her. She questioned her worth. She questioned her place in this world. And sometimes, she even questioned her own strength. But then, in those moments of complete emptiness, she found herself turning to Allah. With no one left to call, she raised her hands. With no shoulder left to cry on, she pressed her forehead to the prayer mat. Her tears fell freely, not out of weakness but out of surrender. She spoke to Allah the way she never could with people, honestly, without fear of judgment, without worrying about being misunderstood. She told him about the loneliness that sat in her chest. She told him about the pain of being forgotten. She told him how tired she was of pretending to be strong when all she wanted was to feel chosen. And slowly, something began to change. Not the situation, but her heart. She started to understand something Mufti Menk often reminds us: not every loss is a loss. Some people leave because their role in your life is finished. Some friendships end because they were never meant to last forever. And sometimes, Allah removes people to make space for something better, something purer, something safer. She realized that some of the friendships she missed were actually the same ones that caused her anxiety, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. She remembered how she used to overthink every word she said, afraid of being judged. How she walked on eggshells, afraid of being too much. How she felt lonely even when she wasn't alone. That realization hurt, but it also healed. Being alone taught her how to sit with herself. To understand her emotions instead of running from them. To appreciate her own company. She learned to enjoy quiet mornings, peaceful evenings, and the calm that comes from not having to prove yourself to anyone. She discovered that solitude isn't the same as emptiness. There were still days when the loneliness returned. Days when she saw groups of friends laughing together and felt a sudden ache in her chest. Days when she wanted to share good news but had no one to tell. Days when she wished someone would simply ask, "How was your day?" On those days, she reminded herself that Allah sees what people overlook. That He hears the du'as she never speaks out loud. That He knows the strength it takes to keep going when no one is clapping for you. She began to understand that her worth was never tied to how many people surrounded her. Her value was written by Allah long before anyone chose to stay or leave. And in that understanding, she found peace. She stopped begging for friendships that required her to shrink. She stopped chasing people who couldn't meet her halfway. She stopped explaining herself to those who never tried to understand her. Instead, she focused on becoming someone she respected. Someone she was proud of. Someone who trusted Allah even when the path felt lonely. And maybe one day, Allah will place people in her life who see her heart, respect her silence, and value her presence. People who don't make her question her worth. People who choose her without hesitation. Until then, she walks this path with patience. With faith. With quiet strength. Because a woman with no friends is not broken. She is being refined. And when Allah is shaping you, the process may feel lonely, but the outcome is always beautiful. Yes, the loneliness hurt. It still does. But it also taught her something powerful. Not everyone is meant to stay, and that's okay. Some people come to teach you strength, not companionship. And maybe, just maybe, Allah is preparing her for people who will value her silence, respect her boundaries, and love her for who she truly is. Until then, she holds on to faith, because when Allah is with you, you are never truly alone.